Sri Krishnaya Paramatmane Namaga. Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaga. Pathanjali Yoga Sutram. Sadhana Paadham. Sutrams 11 to 20. Sutram 11. Dhyana heyas tad vrittayaha. In the previous sutras, Pathanjali talked about samskaras or vriddhis. Now he talks about how they are to be managed or controlled. By meditation, their modifications are to be rejected. Meditation is one of the great means of controlling the rising of these big waves. By meditation, you can make the mind subdue these waves. And if you go on practicing meditation for days and months and years, until it has become a habit, until it will come in spite of yourself, anger and hatred will be controlled and checked. Sutram 12. Klesha Mula Karmashyo Drishta Drishta Janma Vedaniyaha. The receptacle of works has its root in these pain-bearing obstructions and their experience in this visible life or in the unseen life. By the receptacle of works is meant the sum total of these samskaras. Whatever work we do, the mind is thrown into a wave, and after the work is finished, we think the wave is gone. No, it has only become fine, but it is still there. When we try to remember the thing, it comes up again and becomes a wave. So it was there. If it had not been there, there would not have been memory. So every action, every thought, good or bad, just goes down and becomes fine and is there stored up. They are called pain-bearing obstructions, both happy and unhappy thoughts, because according to the yogis, both in the long run bring pain. All happiness which comes from the senses will eventually bring pain. All enjoyment will make us thirst for more, and that brings pain as its result. There is no limit to man's desires. He goes on desiring. And when he comes to a point where desire cannot be fulfilled, the result is pain. Therefore, the yogis regard the sum total of the impressions, good or evil, as pain-bearing obstructions. They obstruct the way to freedom of the soul. It is the same with the samskaras, the fine roots of all our works. They are the causes which will again bring effects either in this life or in the lives to come. In exceptional cases, when these samskaras are very strong, they bear fruit quickly. Exceptional acts of wickedness or of goodness bring their fruits in this life. The yogis even hold that men who are able to acquire a tremendous power of good samskaras do not have to die, but even in this life can change their bodies into God bodies. There are several cases mentioned by the yogis in their books. These men change the very material of their bodies. They rearrange the molecules in such fashion that they have no more sickness, and what we call death does not come to them. Why should not this be? The physiological meaning of foot is assimilation of energy from the sun. This energy has reached the plant. The plant is eaten by an animal and the animal by us. The science of it is that we take so much energy from the sun and make it part of ourselves. That being the case, why should there be only one way of assimilating energy? The plant's way is not the same as ours. The earth's process of assimilating energy differs from our own, but all assimilate energy in some form or other. The yogis say that they are able to assimilate energy by the power of the mind alone, that they can draw in as much as they desire without recourse to the ordinary methods. As a spider makes his nest out of his own substance and becomes bound in his net and cannot go anywhere except along the lines of that net, so we have projected out of our own substance this network called the nerves, and we cannot work except through the channels of those nerves. The yogi says we need not be bound by that. Similarly, we can send electricity to any part of the world, but we have to send it by means of wires. Nature can send a vast mass of electricity without any wires at all. Why cannot we do the same? We can send mental electricity. What we call mind is very much the same as electricity. It is clear that this nerve fluid has some amount of electricity because it is polarized and it answers all electrical directions. We can only send our electricity through these nerve channels. Why not send the mental electricity without this aid? The yogi says it is perfectly possible and practicable, and that when you can do that, you will work all over the universe. You will be able to work with anybody, anywhere, without the help of any nervous system. When the soul is acting through these channels, we say a man is living, and when those channels die, the man is said to be dead. But when a man is able to act either with or without these channels, birth and death will have no meaning for him. All the bodies in the universe are made up of tanmatras, and it is only in the arrangement of them that there comes a difference. If you are the arranger, you can arrange that body in one way or another. Who makes up this body but you? Who eats the food? If another ate the food for you, you would not live long. Who makes the blood out of it? You certainly. Who assimilates the blood and sends it through the veins? You. Who creates the nerves and makes all the muscles? You are the manufacturer out of your own substance. You are the manufacturer of the body and you live in it. Only we have lost the knowledge of how to make it. We have become automatic, degenerate. We have forgotten the process of manufacture. So, what we do automatically has again to be regulated. We are the creators and we have to regulate that creation. And as soon as we can do that, we shall be able to manufacture just as we like, and then we shall have neither birth nor death, disease or anything. Sutra 13. Sati mule tad vipako jatyayur bhog hai. The root being there, the fruition comes in the form of species, life and expression of pleasure and pain. The roots, the causes, the samskaras being there, they again manifest and form the effects. The cause dying down becomes the effect, and the effect becomes more subtle and becomes the cause of the next effect. The tree bears a seed and becomes the cause of the next tree, and so on. All our works are All our works now are the effects of past samskaras. Again, these samskaras become the cause of future actions, and thus we go on. So, this aphorism says that the cause being there, the fruit must come in the form of species. One will be a man, another an angel, and another an animal, another a demon. Then there are different effects in life. One man lives 50 years, another 100, and another dies in 2 years and never attains maturity. All these differences in life are regulated by these past actions. One man is born, as it were, for pleasure. If he buries himself in a forest, pleasure will follow him there. Another man, wherever he goes, pain follows him. Everything becomes painful. It is all the result of their past actions. According to the philosophy of the yogis, all virtuous actions bring pleasure and all vicious actions bring pain. Any man who does wicked deeds is sure to reap the fruit of them in the form of pain. Sutra 14. Tehlada paritapa falaha punya punya hetutvat. They bear fruit as pleasure or pain caused by virtue or vice. Sutra 15. Parinama tapa samskara dukkair gunavritti virodascha dukkam eva sarvam vivekina. To the discriminating, all is as it were painful on account of everything bringing pain, either in the consequences or in apprehension or in attitude caused by impressions, also on account of the counteraction of qualities. The yogis say that the man who has discriminating powers, the man of good sense, sees through all these various things which are called pleasure and pain, and knows that they are always equally distributed and that one follows the other and melts into the other. He sees that men are following an ignis fatuus all their lives and never succeed in fulfilling their desires. There was never a love in this world which did not know decay. The great king Yudhishthira once said that the most wonderful thing in life is that every moment we see people dying around us, and yet we think we shall never die. Surrounded by fools on every side, we think we are the only exceptions, the only learned men. Surrounded by all sorts of experiences of fickleness, we think our love is the only lasting love. How can that be? Even love is selfish, and the yogi says that in the end we shall find that even the love of husbands and wives and children and friends slowly decays. Decadence seizes everything in this life. It is only when everything, even love, fails that with a flash man finds out how vain, how dreamlike is this world. Then he catches a glimpse of vairagyam, renunciation, catches a glimpse of the beyond. It is only by giving up this world that the other comes, never through building on to this one. Never yet was there a great soul who had not to reject sense pleasures and enjoyments to become such. The cause of misery is the clash between different forces of nature, one dragging one way and the other dragging another, rendering permanent happiness impossible. Sutram 16. Kayam dukkam anagatam. The misery which is not yet come is to be avoided. Some karma we have worked out already, some we are working out now in the present, and some is waiting to bear fruit in the future. That which we have worked out already is past and gone. That which we are experiencing now, we will have to work out, and it is only that which is waiting to bear fruit in the future that we can conquer and control. So all our forces should be directed towards the control of that karma which has not yet borne fruit. That is meant in the previous aphorism. When Pathanjali says that these various samskaras are to be controlled by counteracting waves. Sutram 17. Drishtir drishyayo samyogo heya hetuhu. The cause of that which is to be avoided is the junction of the seer and the seen. Who is the seer? The self of man, the Purusha. What is the seen? The whole of nature, beginning with the mind down to gross matter. All this pleasure and pain arises from the junction between this Purusha and the mind. The Purusha, you must remember, according to this philosophy, is pure. It is when it is joined to nature and by reflection that it appears to feel either pleasure or pain. Sutra 18. Prakasa kriyastiti sailam bhuta indriya atmakam bhoga apavarga artam drishyam. The experienced is composed of elements and organs, is of the nature of illumination, action and inertia, and is for the purpose of experience and release of the experiencer. The experienced, that is the nature, is composed of elements and organs. The elements gross and fine which compose the whole of nature, and the organs of the senses, mind, etc., and is of the nature of illumination, action and inertia. These are what in Sanskrit are called sattva, illumination, rajas, action, and tamas, darkness. Each is for the purpose of experience and release. What is the purpose of the whole of nature? That the Purusha may gain experience. The Purusha has, as it were, forgotten its mighty, godly nature. There is a story that the king of the gods, Indra, once became a pig, wallowing in mire. He had a sheep pig and a lot of baby pigs and was very happy. Then some other angels saw his plight and came to him and told him, "You are the king of the gods and you have all the gods in command. Why are you here?" But Indra said, "Let me be. I am all right here. I do not care for the heavens. While I have this sow and these little pigs." The poor gods were at their wits' end what to do. After a time, they decided to slowly come and slay one of the little pigs and then another until they had slain all the pigs and the sow too. When all were dead, Indra began to weep and moan. Then the gods ripped his pig body open and he came out of it and began to laugh when he realized what a hideous dream he had had. He, the king of the gods, to have become a pig and to think that the pig life was the only life. Not only so, but to have wanted the whole universe to come into the pig life. The Purusha, when it identifies itself with the nature, forgets that it is pure and infinite. The Purusha does not live, it is life itself. It does not exist, it is existence itself. The soul does not know, it is knowledge itself. It is an entire mistake to say that the soul lives, or knows, or loves. Love and existence are not the qualities of the Purusha, but its essence. When they get reflected upon something, you may call them the qualities of that something, but they are not the qualities of the Purusha, but the essence of this great Atman, this infinite being without birth or death, who is established in his own glory, but appears as if become degenerate until if you approach to tell him you are not a pig, he begins to squeal and bite. Thus, with us all in this Maya, this dream world, where it is all misery, weeping and crying, where a few golden balls are rolled and the world scrambles after them. You were never bound by laws. Nature never had a bond for you. That is what the yogi tells you. Have patience to learn it. And the yogi shows how, by junction with this nature and identifying itself with the mind and the world, the Purusha thinks itself miserable. Then the yogi goes on to show that the way out is through experience. You have to get all this experience, but finish it quickly. We have placed ourselves in this net and will have to get out. We have got ourselves caught in the trap and we will have to work out our freedom. So get this experience of husbands and wives and friends and the little loves, and you will get through them safely if you never forget what you really are. Never forget this is only a momentary state and that we have to pass through it. Experience is the one great teacher. Experiences of pleasure and pain, but no, they are only experiences and will all lead step by step to that state when all these things will become small and the Purusha will be so great that this whole universe will be as a drop in the ocean and will fall off by its own nothingness. We have to go through these experiences, but let us never forget the ideal. Sutra 19. Vishesha, Avisesha, Linga Matra, Alingani, Guna Parvani. The states of the qualities are the defined, the undefined, the indicated only, and the signless. The system of yoga is built entirely on the philosophy of the Sankhyas, as told in some of the previous lectures. And here again I will remind you of the cosmology of the Sankhya philosophy. According to the Sankhyas, nature is both the material and the efficient cause of this universe. In this nature, there are three sorts of materials: the sattva, the rajas, and the tamas. The tamas material is all that is dark, all that is ignorant and heavy, and the rajas is activity. The sattvas is calmness, light. When nature is in the state before creation, it is called by them avyaktam, undefined or indiscrete. That is, in which there is no distinction of form or name. A state in which these three materials are held in perfect equilibrium. Then the balance is disturbed. These different materials begin to mingle in various fashions, and the result is this universe. In every man, also these three materials exist. When the sattva material prevails, knowledge comes. When the rajas material prevails, activity comes. And when the tamas material prevails, darkness comes, and lassitude, idleness, ignorance. According to the Sankhya theory, the highest manifestation of this nature, consisting of these three materials, is what they call Mahat or intelligence, universal intelligence. And each human mind is part of that cosmic intelligence. Then out of Mahat comes the mind. In the Samkhya philosophy, there is a sharp distinction between manas and mind function and the function of buddhi, the intellect. The mind function is simply to collect and carry impressions and present them to the buddhi, the individual mahat, and the buddhi determined upon it. So out of mahat comes mind, and out of mind comes fine material, and this fine material combines and becomes the gross material outside the external universe. The claim of the Sankhya philosophy is that beginning with the intellect and coming down to a block of stone, all has come out of the same thing, only as finer or grosser states of existence. The buddhi is the finest state of existence of the materials, and then comes ahamkara, egoism, and next to the mind comes fine material, which they call tanmatras, which cannot be seen but which are inferred. These tanmatras combine and become grosser and finally produce this universe. The finer is the cause and the grosser is the effect. It begins with the buddhi, which is the finest material, and goes on becoming grosser and grosser until it becomes this universe. According to Sankhya philosophy, beyond the whole of this nature is the Purusha, which is not material at all. Purusha is not at all similar to anything else, either buddhi or mind or the tanmatras or the gross material. It is not akin to any one of these. It is entirely separate, entirely different in its nature, and from this they argue that the Purusha must be immortal because it is not the result of combination. That which is not the result of combination cannot die. These Purushas or souls are infinite in number. Now we shall understand the aphorism that the states of the qualities are defined, undefined, and signless. By the defined is meant the gross elements which we can sense. By the undefined is meant the very fine materials, the tanmatras, which cannot be sensed by ordinary men. If you practice yoga, however, says Pathanjali, after a while your perception will become so fine that you will actually see the tanmatras. For instance, you have heard how every man has a certain light above him. Every living being is emanating a certain light, and this, he says, can be seen by the yogi. We do not all see it, but we are all throwing out these tanmatras. Just as a flower is continuously emanating these tanmatras, which enable us to smell it, every day of our lives, we are throwing out a mass of good or evil, and everywhere we go, the atmosphere is full of these materials, and this is how there came to the human mind, even unconsciously, the idea of building temples and churches. Why should man build churches in which to worship God? Why not worship Him anywhere? Even if he did not know the reason, man found that that place where people worshipped God became full of good tanmatras. Every day people go there, and the more they go, the holier they get, and the holier that place becomes. If any man who has not much sattva in him goes there, the place will influence him and arouse his sattva quality. Here, therefore, is the significance of all temples and holy places. But you must remember that their holiness depends on holy people congregating there. The difficulty with mankind is that they forget the original meaning and put the cart before the horse. It was men who made these places holy, and then the effect became the cause and made men holy. If the wicked only were to go there, it would become as bad as any other place. It is not the building but the people that make a church, and that is what we always forget. That is why sages and holy persons who have so much of this sattva quality are emanating so much of it around them and exerting a tremendous influence day and night on their surroundings. A man may become so pure that his purity will become tangible as it were. The body has become pure, and in an intensely physical sense, no figurative idea, no poetical language, it emanates that purity wherever it goes. Whosoever comes in contact with that man becomes pure. Next, the indicated only means the buddhi, the intellect. The indicated only is the first manifestation of nature. From it all other manifestations proceed. The last is the signless. Here there seems to be a great fight between modern science and all religion. Every religion has this idea that this universe comes out of intelligence. Only some religions were more philosophical and used scientific language. The very theory of God, taking it in its physiological significance and apart from all ideas of personal God, is that intelligence is first in the order of creation, and that out of intelligence comes what we call gross matter. Modern philosophers say that the intelligence is the last to come. They say that unintelligent things slowly evolve into animals, and from animals slowly evolve into men. They claim that instead of everything coming out of intelligence, intelligence is in itself the last to come. Both the religious and the scientific statement, though seemingly directly opposed to each other, are true. Take an infinite series A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B, A, etc. The question is, which is first, A or B? If you take the series as A, you will say that A is first. But if you take it as BA, you will say that B is first. It depends on the way you are looking at it. Intelligence evolves and becomes the gross material, and this again evolves as intelligence and again evolves as matter once more. The Sankhyas and all religionists put intelligence first, and the series becomes intelligence then matter. Intelligence then matter. The scientific man puts his finger on matter and say matter then intelligence, matter then intelligence. But they are both indicating the same chain. Indian philosophy, however, goes beyond both intelligence and matter and finds a Purusha or self, which is beyond all intelligence, and of which intelligence is but the borrowed light. Sutra 20. Drishta drishi matrah शुद्धः अपि प्रत्यय अनुपश्यः. The seer is intelligence only, and though pure, seen through the coloring of the intellect. This is again Sankhya philosophy. We have seen from this philosophy that from the lowest form up to intelligence, all is nature, but beyond nature are Purushas, souls, and these have no qualities. Then how does the soul appear to be happy or unhappy? By reflection. Just as if be piece of pure crystal be put on a table and a red flower to put near it, the crystal appears to be red. So all these appearances of happiness or unhappiness are but reflections. The soul itself has no sort of coloring. The soul is separate from nature. Nature is one thing, soul another, eternally separate. The Sankhyas say that intelligence is a compound, that it grows and wanes, that it changes just as the body changes, and that its nature is nearly the same as that of the body. As a fingernail is to the body, so is body to intelligence. The nail is a part of the body, but it can be pared off hundreds of times and the body will still last. Similarly, the intelligence lasts eons, while this body can be pared off, thrown off. Yet intelligence cannot be immortal because it changes, growing and waning. Anything that changes cannot be immortal. Certainly, intelligence is manufactured, and that very fact shows us that there must be something beyond that, because it cannot be free. Everything connected with the matter is in nature and therefore bound forever. Who is free? That free one must certainly be beyond cause and effect. If you say that the idea of freedom is a delusion, I will say that the idea of bondage is also a delusion. Two facts come into our consciousness and stand or fall by each other. One is that we are bound. If we want to go through a wall and our head bumps against that wall, we are limited by that wall. At the same time, we find and think we can direct our will everywhere. At every step, these contradictory ideas are coming to us. We have to believe that we are free. Yet at every moment, we find we are not free. If one idea is a delusion, the other is also a delusion, because both stand upon the same basis, consciousness. The yogi says both are true, that we are bound so far as intelligence goes, that we are free as far as the soul is concerned. It is the real nature of man, the soul, the Purusha, which is beyond all law of causation. Its freedom is percolating through layers and layers of matter, in various forms of intelligence and mind and all these things. It is its light which is shining through all. Intelligence has no light of its own. Each organ has a particular center in the brain. It is not that all the organs have one center. Each organ is separate. Why do all these perceptions harmonize, and where do they get their unity? If it were in the brain, there would be one center only for the eyes, the nose, the ears, while we know for certain that there are different centers for each. But a man can see and hear at the same time, so a unity must be back of intelligence. Intelligence is eternally connected with the brain, but behind even intelligence stands the Purusha, the unit where all these different sensations and perceptions join and become one. Soul itself is the center where all the different organs converge and become unified, and that soul is free. And it is its freedom that tells you every moment that you are free. But you mistake and mingle that freedom every moment with the intelligence and mind. You try to attribute that freedom to the intelligence and immediately find that intelligence is not free. You attribute that freedom to the body, and immediately nature tells you that you are again mistaken. That is why there is this mingled sense of freedom and bondage at the same time. The yogi analyzes both what is free and what is bound, and his ignorance vanishes. He finds that the Purusha is free, is the essence of that knowledge which, coming through the buddhi, becomes intelligence and as such is bound. This completes up to Sutram 20 of Sadhana Pada. Now, the essence of what is talked about in Sutras 11 to 20. Pathanjali says that Dhyanam will help to ward off the hindrances of practice or sadhana. He also talks about samskaras, and he tells that the cause for all pains is the desire and action. The actions, whether good or bad, eventually brings only pain, is the determination of the yogis. Also, the three gunas, namely tamas, rajas and sattva, were also being talked about. He also talks about how the soul, which is solely independent, looks bound by the coloring of mind or samskaras. So let us see about sutras from 21 in the next episode. Samastaloka sukino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.